Well, hey, LTD family, and welcome to another episode of the LTD Morning Huddle. Hey, this episode looks a little bit different because Richard and I have been both out in the field traveling all week long. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, jumping right in, we are celebrating the week of June 12th through the 18th. Okay, I'm passing the mic over to Richard for our weekly discussion on extreme ownership.
Okay, this week's episode, or lesson, I should say, is going to start with story time. So, when I was working the front desk at a hotel, I had an issue. I was having an item delivered to a guest room, let's just say toilet paper. And guest called down, asked for the item. I called the houseman who was supposed to deliver it, and then ultimately some time went by and the guest called back down and stated they never received the item. So obviously the guest was upset. I was a little, upset myself. I did my part of the job and it wasn't delivered. So I told the guest, I'm really sorry. Went through all the exercises of the true apology, showed empathy, and then said, I notified my colleague, but it never happened. And so obviously the guest was upset, but we eventually got them the item. Similar situation happened, but this time it was purely my fault. Guest called down, asked for the item. I wrote the room number down. I called it in. The houseman delivered it, but then called me shortly later and said that the guest that they delivered it to said they never called down. So obviously, I wrote the wrong room number down. I didn't know how to get a hold of this guest. There was too many rooms to guess which one it was, and so I really had to wait. And when the guest called back down, they said, "Hey, I haven't received my item yet." This time it was my fault, so I admitted to it. I told the guest I wrote the wrong room number down. I apologize. I had no way to get a hold of you, and at that point, I personally delivered the item. The guest immediately forgave me, and it was just a much better situation. And so I came to this conclusion that if we, in the situation where it was my fault, I took ownership of it and then instantly everything was okay. And so I began to take that stance with any issue going from that point, whether it was my failure or something that I messed up on, or one of my coworkers forgot to do something. I realized when it's time to talk to the guest, if there's an opportunity for me to take the blame, take the guilt, take ownership of the failure, that they're far more likely to forgive us. I think in general people are willing to forgive with you, or take or pass along the blame to somebody else together. In the first example, we both had a common enemy or villain in this situation. My coworker who forgot or made an error and didn't get the item delivered. So both the guest and myself were looking at it as how they're making our lives or our jobs more difficult. And in the second situation where I was the person who made this mistake, they were able to face me directly. I'm a person who they're directly associated with, and they're able to offer forgiveness to me. And then, so I shared this story with Sam, and of course, there's books written on this concept. Extreme ownership is actually the Navy SEALs use that model of that. If you are a leader, you take ownership of every issue, every failure, everything that goes on within your command. That it's yours and yours to share and yours to make right. And I think as we are all leaders in our own right, that we need to make sure that we just keep that in mind, that anything that goes on, we control to a certain degree its outcome. But at the end of the day, if we take ownership in every situation, when we're dealing with guests or dealing with our colleagues or dealing with our bosses, that um, we can take ownership in those moments, and then take ownership of the failures. And then as true leaders, if we can take ownership of our team's failures, but of course share in the victories and the wins, because those are the moments that you share with the team. When there's a win, when everything goes right, you want to make sure that every part is shared with that. So thank you, Sam, and I will throw it back to you now.
Okay, it's time for birthdays. All right, we have lots of birthdays this week, not as many as last week, but plenty of birthdays to celebrate. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday this week, we are so excited to celebrate alongside you, and hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Okay, and we also want to celebrate our anniversaries. This week, we also have plenty of anniversaries, lots of 1 years, but I do want to highlight a couple. Miss Penny, 13 years with LTD. Thank you so much for everything that you've done for us over the years. You are truly a leader within our organization, and we are so thankful for you. And then, of course, Miss Susanna for 12 years, and then Nate at 6 years, and Frank at 4 years. Thank you all so much for your commitment and for your loyalty. And for those of you who are celebrating 1 year with us, we hope to celebrate so many more alongside of you. And then, of course, the moment that we've all been waiting for, our star player of the week. And this week we have Miss Taisha. Taisha joins us from the Element Hampton, and she was actually nominated from her executive housekeeper, Miss Kiera. And she noted that Taisha has a cheerful attitude. She loves to make everyone laugh in the morning huddle by telling jokes. She accepts constructive criticism, and she's always working to improve. She's also a phenomenal team player. We love to hear stories like this where people like Taisha are contributing to the team, and they're always in pursuit of being better. And for that, we thank you so much. And of course, you will also receive a $50 gift card, and it's on the way, Taisha. So thank you so much for everything you do. And team, we hope that you have a phenomenal week, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode of the Morning Huddle. Make it a great day.